Hey there, folks. Welcome to the show. Wow. Most of you probably are going to be familiar with what I'm going to talk about right now. Where do I start? I had a very short conversation with the President of the United States the other day. It's pretty crazy. Somebody who's been on this show many times, my friend Mike Wilkerson, you can find him at his website is Stormwall. He's been a friend for many, many years. He had a wedding, and it was at Lago because he lives down in Florida, and it was a smaller wedding. It wasn't, like 500 people. It was like 100 people, and it was really delightful. And near the end of the reception, somebody said, I think the president's going to show up. I thought, what? Why? What? And anyway, I don't know if I was walking to the restroom. I was walking across the room, and suddenly the door opens up, and in walks President Trump. And President Trump, he's just doing a pop-in, the pop-in. And he pops in, and of course, he's completely taken with the bride and groom, Mike Wilkerson. We'll bring him on the program in a few minutes, but I don't want to say this while he's on the air, or maybe I will to embarrass him. But he's a good-looking guy. His bride, beautiful. So Trump sees the two of them. He makes this comment about, oh, they're so good looking. He goes on and on. They're so good looking. I want to put them in a catalog, in a hotel catalog or something. Then he sees me, and makes a statement. Really, I don't know how to put this. The room was noisy, it's a wedding. Suddenly the president is there. It was really discombobulating for me. So much so that I didn't even remember this until I saw the video of it the next day. I couldn't remember. It was so confusing. But if you watch the video, and this has gone ultra viral, just my own X account. If you go to my X account, my Twitter account, it has 6 million views just on my X account. My Instagram account, I believe it has 1 million views. Insane. You can see it if you haven't seen it. But what happens is President Trump looks at me. He knows me, right? And he says to my friends who are the bride and groom, this is the guy who's going to get me into heaven. What? Excuse me, what? I was completely discombobulated. I have no idea about it. But I immediately reacted like, Mr. President, I want to talk to you about getting into heaven. I'd like to have that conversation with you, but at another time, because it was noisy, and the focus should be on the bride and groom. It's their wedding. It shouldn't be on me, catechizing the president on salvation by grace, right? So it was this crazy moment. Then I said to him, don't forget you're the supercentennial president. I reminded him of this, whatever, and boom, and then he's gone. Well, the next day, there's videos of this all over the internet. I don't know who did the video, frankly. And I finally get to listen to it because I had forgotten. Now, I'm not making this up. It was so chaotic. I had forgotten who he said is going to get him into heaven. I had forgotten that he had pointed to me and somehow said that. And now the question is, why would he say that? And I guess I thought, well, he keeps talking about watching my show. I don't know if he's watching this iteration of it, but he has watched me over the years, and he insists every time he sees me, he watches my show all the time. It's hard for me to believe that, but evidently he says it every time. So I'm guessing that he has, picked up my evangelistic thinking that it's to me. Yes. If you listen to me, you're going to understand what is the most important thing in period. Jesus, faith in the living God of the scripture. That's the most important thing to me. And so I guess this was the president's gracious way, because he's very gracious, of saying that I've got him thinking along those lines. Or who knows? I don't know. But he's a joker. So he's joking around and stuff. So it was so discombobulating. But the crazy thing, and my co-host and producers here, Chris Himes, you watch this stuff.
Yeah, yeah. It's funny. There are a handful of times where, where I see you in week, you trying to do our show, and I know you're up here, there, sometimes to get bill approved, but usually I'm not. And then I'll just get an email, like update, and it's kind of jaw dropping. And this was definitely one of those things. But so yeah, you sent it to us and Jared and Malachi, where sort of did the social stuff here, and we thought, oh, we got to get this out, but we didn't think, oh, this is going to blow up. But it was sort of like, oh, we definitely need to post this because it was kind of, special. And then it just blew up.
Well, now here's the thing. This is what I wanted to get to, because this is so, and we could talk about this for a long time. I want to bring on Mike Wilkerson, the groom, to get his perspective. But I want to say that what's so interesting, and this is actually very important, you put it out there, it's this happy thing. President shows up at somebody's wedding, makes a joke about, this is the guy who's going to get me into heaven. I say, I'd like to talk to you about that, but out of respect for the bride and groom and out of respect for the president, because he was not there to chit chat, another time, sir. All of the feedback that was on my X account, mostly the X account, was, how do we put this? This is important.
Everyone had an opinion. That's the best way to frame it. Everybody has their own different opinions.
Well, I got a couple of things. First of all, if you have an opinion, feel free to keep it to yourself. You don't have to give everybody your opinion. Some opinions are wonderful and comments are wonderful, but not all comments are wonderful. Not all opinions are wonderful, but there are people that somehow feel they have this issue, like, I've got to say X. I've got to say it. No, you don't. And sometimes it's far better to say nothing. But the reason I'm bringing this up is because there's a Pharisaical spirit. Tons of people had to rebuke me for saying, I'd love to talk to you about getting in heaven, but another time. That they all dumped on me like, don't you know that the most important thing in the world is sharing the gospel, and there's never a bad time to share the gospel, blah, 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 blah. Like, it would have been rude to my friend Mike and Milana, his beautiful bride, to make it all about me. It's bad enough that this got captured and goes all over the internet, whatever. But so I just thought, graciously, we'll talk about it another time. But so many people felt obliged to just hammer that, oh, no, what's shame on you? There's never a bit, they weren't there. It was incredibly noisy. The Secret Service is obviously pulling him away. So clearly this was not the time, but I just was trying to put a pin in it and say, but I would like to talk to you about that. We will get back to this, but it also reveals, and this is important, folks, this is important. In my book, Letter to the American Church, I talk about the idol of evangelism. There are people, let's be blunt, and maybe some of you are listening right now, and I've been really guilty of this, so I'm just saying it, who do not trust the Lord. They don't trust the Holy Spirit. They're anxious. The scripture says, be anxious about nothing, no, including somebody's salvation. Trust the Lord, praise the Lord, and trust that God cares about that person's salvation more than you do. And so you have to trust the Holy Spirit and the timing, God's timing. But there are people who don't. They really have a kind of very utilitarian view that it's up to me, and if I don't do it, I am sending that person to hell by not. It really is such a shallow and narrow theology. But I was amazed by that. We expect that kind of sniping from the world, from the secular world, and there's plenty of it. There were tons of articles. On my Google alerts, it's like there must be 30 articles that were written about this incident, this several second long incident. And in it, what do they talk about in these articles? About the MAGA base and the controversy of all the comments about how I should have shared the gospel. I should have pulled out a tract from my back pocket in the middle of the wedding there. Excuse me. Let me put down my hors d'oeuvre in my champagne glass and share, maybe if I had a flannel graph, that would have been the way to do it. So it was so funny, all these articles about the controversy. And you realize, at least I realize, how manufactured most news is. Because what's the news? There's no real news President Trump graciously popped into a wedding that was, 75 yards away from where he was. He thought, well, let me bless the couple and say hello. He suddenly sees an old friend, Eric Metaxas. He cracks a joke. I say something back and he leaves. But it turns into a major news story. The whole thing is comedy and whatever. But I just thought I have to talk about the Pharisaical comments from Christians. And I think that this is, if anybody wants to know, we've all heard this, right? Like, what did Gandhi say about how much he admires Christianity, but the one reason that he doesn't become a Christian is because of Christians, because Christians are often the worst representatives of the Christian faith. Christians can be really Pharisaical and religious in the negative sense. And if you ever want to see that, you just look at the comments on my X account of everybody rebuking me for, don't you know that there's never a bad time to share the gospel, or whatever that means. Like that's it's such a hidebound, narrow way of thinking. You don't trust the Lord, that God is in charge, and that he just wants us to be, to do our job and not to fret. Hey there, folks. As hard as it may be for us to believe, especially if we're in America, there are people in other parts of the world who have literally been enslaved because of their faith in Jesus Christ. Some of them for decades. Hundreds of thousands of them have been persecuted and enslaved in the Sudan. Together, right now, we can literally buy their freedom and save the lives of some precious brothers and sisters, give them the joy and hope we celebrate so freely. For only $250, you can provide life-saving aid this Christmas. You can buy a believer's freedom and provide them with much-needed food, a goat, and other necessary goods for their survival. Brothers and sisters enslaved and fearing for their lives, just $250. Maybe you can give more. Maybe you can just give a portion of that. Every gift helps. Imagine buying the freedom of a fellow Christian believer. You can do it. Call 888-253-3522, 888-253-3522. Christian Solidarity International provides life-saving resources for persecuted Christians for almost 40 years, 888-253-3522, or go to ericmetaxas.com and click on the banner. You'll see it, ericmetaxas.com. Click on the banner. Please give someone the gift of getting their life back. Provide life and freedom for someone right now. God bless you. But it was just so fascinating. But that's all to say. In a minute, I'm going to bring on, I almost said the birthday boy, but the groom, my friend Mike Wilkerson, to get his perspective on this, because it was just a beautiful thing. Nobody, has the president pop in on their wedding. So he gets that. And that was just crazy. Of course, Bill Clinton did pop in on my wedding in 1996, right? No, he didn't. So
you didn't play a saxophone for your first dance?
Now that you mention it,
yeah.
Maybe he didn't. Yeah, no, I don't think he did.
It's interesting. God rest his soul, my wife's grandfather was sort of a lay pastor down at Prestonwood Baptist Room. We received, Sunday school class, and he was very connected to the tract society, I think, as well. He always had tracts, and so I always like to get the latest ones, since they were. It's like whoever made with before AI, but you would swear some kind of supercomputer was customizing these new tracks and whatnot every couple months, because if let's just say a big new movie came out, the track would be themed to that movie, or any kind of big news event, we could customize it.
But you're not talking about Jack Chick tracks, because those were. I thought that they were co-produced with Bazooka Joe.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. It was like. They were always so compelling, and I wonder if you couldn't make it customized. So you're the president of the United States. Bible track.
A track, and just hand it to him.
Yeah, it's like customized for. Maybe you should make one for him.
I think we're going to do that. We're going to get right on that. Now, actually, Chris, before we bring on Mike Wilkerson, I wanted to also talk about, a lot happened since we've last visited. I like to say that since we've last visited, I should be wearing a cardigan, but a lot has happened. And one of the things that happened while I was down in Palm Beach for Mike Wilkerson's wedding was I saw a clip of Tucker Carlson. Now, again, what in the world is going on with Tucker Carlson? I don't know. but he said something so dumb. Now, I don't think he's dumb. I think he's wonderful and really smart, and I like him. So he's been saying some things that are very disturbing and doing some things that are disturbing. But he said something about Bonhoeffer that was so confusing and wrong, I thought I have to address it. So I addressed it on social media. I'll address it here briefly before we get to the groom of the wedding. But Tucker said, now we'll play the clip, but basically he said, when you start calling people Nazis, you're at a point where, you have to kill them. So that's bad. So you can't call everybody a Nazi. And then he references Bonhoeffer as an example of this, except Bonhoeffer was in fact surrounded by Nazis, not Nazis in quotes, actual Nazis. And nor did Bonhoeffer advocate killing Nazis. So it's a stupid statement. But of course, he was involved in the plot to kill Hitler. And there's so many levels, and this is kind of dissecting a lie is very difficult because there's all these levels of deception. So Tucker implied, he actually says Bonhoeffer, went beyond even Christianity. Tucker said this, right? Now, I don't think Tucker's theologically sophisticated. I think he's earnest, but he's not surrounded by people that are helping him theologically. So he's thinking things and saying things that are confusing and wrong. And so he says, so Bonhoeffer went even beyond Christianity. Christianity wasn't good enough. He had to go past Christianity, whatever that means, and get involved in the plot to kill Hitler. And I thought the only reason Bonhoeffer was involved in the plot to kill Hitler was because of his Christian faith. And I've spoken about this ad nauseum. I have written about it. I just happen to have here a copy of a book. It's a 600-page book. There you go. That's a nice design. A 600-page book about Bonhoeffer. If you want to know what Bonhoeffer said and thought about the plot to kill Hitler, may I recommend Bonhoeffer, Pastor, Martyr, Prophet, Spy by Eric Metaxas. It's a pretty good book. I think it's worth its weight in, whatever you pay for it. It's a good thing. But and you can get a copy at mystore.com if you use the code Eric, mystore.com, use the code Eric, or go to SocratesInTheCity.com, get a signed copy, SocratesInTheCity.com. So in the book, I explain, because it needs some explaining, Bonhoeffer's ethical dilemma with regard to getting involved in the plot to kill Hitler. But he did decide, it's not like, oh, is God going to judge me if I get involved in the plot to kill Hitler? It's going to be, is God going to judge me if I don't get involved in the plot? Millions of people are being killed. And so he likens it to this idea of a sniper, killing people. Am I obliged to take out the sniper if I have a gun? If somebody's killing people, or if somebody's in a car killing people left and right down a busy street, and I have a gun, do I have an ethical responsibility to stop the killing by shooting the driver? But that's not murder, ladies and gentlemen. When David killed Goliath, that's not murder. The Bible prohibits murder, but not killing. When a cop has a gun, or in the military you have a gun, it's not so you can commit murder. It's different, right? When David kills Goliath, it's not murder. So anyway, maybe I've said enough along these lines.
Tucker has gotten, I don't know if anybody has seen that show Impractical Jokers, where it's basically four friends from high school.
Yes.
And they kind of dare each other to say the most outrageous thing. The one guy is basically, has the earpiece, and the three guys sit behind in the van watching my camera, and they think of the most outrageous things to make us, or whoever's has to say the thing. He can't not say the things they whisper in his ear. And you almost wonder, is there somebody whispering crazy things in Tucker's ear that he has to say? Because that's kind of the vibe that
I'm pretty sure, according to Candace Owens, it's the Emir of Qatar. The Emir of Qatar is doing this. And we haven't even talked about Candace Owens. Praise the Lord. Let's not talk about Candace Owens. No.
And before we go, we need to remind our viewers that we have a CSI campaign. And a link here, Metaxas. website. And
Oh, this is important, folks. Gosh, I should have brought this up. All right. We're going to go to a break and we're going to bring on my friend Mike Wilkerson to get his perspective on the wedding. But we are freeing slaves through Christian Solidarity International. You've heard me talk about this in the past. This is a great opportunity for you. Great idea for a Christmas gift. Great idea to get the family involved. It's a big deal. Literally freeing slaves. People overuse the word literally. So when I use the word literally, I'm not overusing it or misusing it. Literally freeing slaves. It's not a metaphor. Literally freeing slaves. Literal slaves. So the website is ericmetaxas.com. When we come back, we'll have my friend Mike Wilkerson on. But please go to the website, ericmetaxas.com. You'll see the banner. There's also a phone number. I'll give you the phone number, 888-253-3522, 888-253-3522, 888-253-3522, literally 888-253-3522, or go to ericmetaxas.com. We'll be telling you more about this, but it's a great opportunity. God bless you. Thank you for doing this, and we'll be right back.
During the horrors of the Holocaust, Corrie ten Boom and her Dutch family, as told in her classic book, The Hiding Place, risked everything to shelter Jewish neighbors in their home. They were betrayed and sent to concentration camps, yet Corrie survived and went on to preach forgiveness and hope around the world. That same redemptive spirit lives on in 10 Boom Coffee. Working with Agro Cafe, an Israeli ag tech company, 10 Boom Coffee helps farmers around the world increase their harvests by 60%, improving both the quality of their beans and the quality of their lives. So every cup you pour becomes part of a legacy, one that stands for courage, kindness, and redemption. Visit 10boomcoffee.com. That's 10boomcoffee.com. Taste the goodness that changes lives. Use the code ERIC and save 10%. 10boomcoffee.com. Use the code ERIC.
Hey there, folks. Welcome back. As I told you, I thought it would be fun to have the groom from the wedding that has gone bizarrely all over the internet. It's so bizarre. Mike Wilkerson, my friend, welcome to the program.
Hi, Eric. Always a pleasure.
And congratulations again. Your wedding, honestly, was the wedding ceremony at that church was very moving to me. I didn't even get a chance to say that to you because there's so many guests at the wedding, but it was a really particularly beautiful ceremony. And I was choked up many times during the ceremony. I didn't get to tell you that. It was just beautiful and moving and Jesus-centered.
Well, thank you for saying that, Eric, because that's what we wanted. We were at Bethesda by the Sea in Palm Beach, and that church has been a part of our relationship as we've prepared through our engagement. Even when we met, I believe our second date was to attend church there, attend service there. And it was very much our hope that Jesus would be glorified and that people would see that in heaven there's a continuous feast. We know the story of Jesus at Cana turning water into wine, but at the end of history, there's going to be a great wedding, and it's going to be one full of joy and a party, and that is what heaven is really like. And we wanted to reflect that for everyone who was able to share in our sacred union, in our joyful moment. So thank you.
And at that wedding feast, the marriage supper of the Lamb, I'm pretty sure Trump is going to pop in and suck the oxygen out of the room. And it'll be all over the internet. It's going to be unbelievable. Actually, no, that's how we know we're in heaven. There's no internet.
That's right.
There's
no social media.
This whole thing was so shocking to me. The next day, you remember, after Trump left, I was so confused because people don't realize it was noisy. It's, of course, discombobulating when this, cartoon character bursts into the room and suddenly, he says he's saying a few things and he's a joker and all this different stuff. And when he left, you may remember I said to you, what did he say? Like, I couldn't remember what he said. I literally couldn't remember what he said until the next day. I was at the airport and I see a video And I thought, oh my gosh, did he say that? I didn't remember any of this. And then, as you know, it just kind of went crazy, went all over the internet with all these Pharisaical voices rebuking me for not sharing the gospel at that moment. And since you were right there, you could have seen it was like there was no opportunity. Like, it was just so ridiculous. So the whole thing was about you and your beautiful bride getting married. It wasn't about, like, staging an intervention with the president to preach salvation by grace at this. That's not what it was about.
The whole weekend was such a blur, and we were very aware of the need to stay in the moment, every moment, because it was just happening so fast. And what I think people may not recognize about Donald J. Trump is at heart, he is an old school hotelier. He is somebody who loves hospitality. His entire career was about hotels, resorts, making people feel welcome, making people feel at home. And I don't think it's insincere. I think he actually cares that people have a great experience. And the other thing is that he does try to come to weddings that are held at Mar-a-Lago, not to events in general, not to any other kind of meetings or conferences or whatever it might be, weddings. Why is that? And I believe it's because he recognizes the significance, spiritually, otherwise, relationally, the importance of marriage and of the union. And he wants to be able to honor people in that. It wasn't grandstanding as far as I was concerned. He said some very nice words to my beautiful bride and to me and to her mom, my now mother-in-law, that were very kind and very welcoming. So I very much appreciated it. I ignored the internet storm for as long as I could over the next couple of days and just enjoyed the nuptial bliss, the wedding and all that followed from it.
Well, I mean, it is a weird thing because it's suddenly on my Google alerts, I keep thinking like the Times of India wrote an article about this. The New York Times contacted me. Now, I just want to say, in case any New York Times reporters ever listen to this program, I hope not. But if the New York Times ever contacts me, not only will I not give them a comment, I will not even respond to tell them that I'm not going to give them a comment. I have the greatest contempt imaginable for the New York Times. They are just, wicked at this point, absolutely wicked. But it's just funny to me that all these folks are reaching out. The Daily Mail reached out. I don't respond to any of this stuff, but it was very interesting to me, Mike, that it just went so crazy. Even this morning, I was on X and there was a clip of Greg Gutfeld doing his show from last night. And on the show last night, there was a picture of you and Milana about how Trump popped into a wedding, and it was all a setup for a joke of Joe Biden popped into a funeral 3 months early. It was his own funeral, something like that, whatever. But it was so funny. It's like when something gets out there, it's just a crazy experience. But I think it's just the Lord's blessing on you, on your union with Milana. I really think it was beautiful. And I don't know if I mentioned earlier, but how the president gushed at what a great looking couple you are. He wants to put you in an ad for one of his hotel ads or whatever. That was pretty. And you, I mean, anybody who saw the photos realizes he wasn't blowing smoke.
He wasn't. And what was so interesting is again, I just go back to, we were very focused on being present, not welcoming the president. We were there for each other. We were there for a sacred union and to celebrate it with those whom we loved, friends, families, those who we'd known for a long time like you, those who had been a part of our story. We could have cared less whether President, Santa Claus, anyone else showed up. We wanted to be there with our loved ones. And yet I felt so honored that he was there. I mean, it was such a wonderful moment to have him. That's not every day you can say the president of the United States walks into your wedding or walks into a bar and says, but it was special. And it was disappointing, but not surprising the way the internet sort of took it and perverted it and manipulated it. The thing about Trump derangement syndrome is it has to be fed constantly with fodder and nonsense. And there was a lot of fodder and nonsense that went on after it, but we don't really pay attention to that. We focus on things that are true. focus on the values that are true. As you know, when I wrote Why America Matters, one of the things I talked about was this urgent need in our nation to get back to what really matters: faith, family, marriage, children. Charlie Kirk was a big advocate of all of those things. And I think we are in the middle of a renaissance, of a turning back to those values, the institutions that matter and that hold civilization together, hold our lives together. And I was just honored to be able to share that with you and with President Trump.
Well, it is interesting you put it that way, because I do think we are in the midst of not just revival, Renaissance, Reformation. There's something happening that in our lifetimes, we've been moving in the wrong direction. Suddenly, we're moving in the right direction. Suddenly, faith, family, love of country, all of those things that you and I both talk about and write about, it does seem to be happening. And at the same time, of course, there's spiritual warfare. There are dark forces trying to work against it, working overtime against it. I don't even want to mention specifics, but there's a lot of ugly stuff out there. And so, yeah, it was interesting to see the internet seize on this, mostly just for controversy or something like that. But, at the heart of it is this beautiful picture of you and your bride and the president of the United States, which I just, again, you talk about an honor. Most people could never dream of anything like that. And, of God allowed that. It was just beautiful. And so I'm glad that the whole world knows that you two just got married, that the president thinks you're a great looking couple. And I think I concur. I've seen you up close many times. You're an amazing looking couple, but you're not just a beautiful looking couple. You're a beautiful couple. And the stuff you write about, Mike, where can people find you? Because your stuff is important. You've been on this program. How can people find you?
Thanks very much, Eric. Stormwall.com contains all of my writings, links to my books, videos, articles. I'm writing articles almost every day. Also on X, you can find me there, Eric, where we are or will be soon. And check it out. I appreciate the time to be on the show, Eric, and I appreciate the opportunity for both of us to remind ourselves and everyone that we're around to stay positive, to focus on what is good, to focus on what God is doing in your life, not what the naysayers want to say or try to tear down. That's part of our message, is to remember who we are as people, as believers, and to walk in love as Christ loved us.
Amen. Mike Wilkerson, congratulations again. Thanks for being on this program. Talk to you soon.
See you soon, Eric.
Folks, listen, if you've been injured in an accident or someone you love has been, this is something you really need to hear. I've been talking with the team over at Legal Help Center, and they're absolutely committed to helping people just like you understand your rights and figure out what your case may truly be worth. And here's what sets them apart. When you choose Legal Help Center, you're getting a free consultation, no upfront costs whatsoever, agents available 24/7, a connection with a qualified local attorney, and clear guidance so you actually understand your rights. In other words, they make the entire process simple, professional, and genuinely helpful. So here's what to do. Call 800-575-9120. That's 800-575-9120. Or go to LegalHelpCenter.com. Find out how much money you may qualify for. Don't wait. Don't try to go it alone. Certainly don't attempt to become your own lawyer. Let the professionals at Legal Help Center handle this for you. Legal Help Center, helping you know your rights and what your case is really worth.
Stop everything, folks. I told you, I'm not kidding. Stop. Do you understand who I have on right now? Do you understand, ladies and gentlemen? You should be very frightened because we have Vostradamus. Have you heard of Vostradamus? That's what I call Kevin McCullough. Kevin McCullough, welcome back.
Hey, Eric. It's good to see your new digs.
Yes. I have new digs, and aren't they wonderful digs? I got to tell you, Kevin, you when Chris Himes dubbed you Vostradamus, I just realized that's not just clever. It's tremendously apropos because you're a political prognosticator like we've never known. Just because you're not wearing a turban doesn't mean you're not some kind of a Swami prognosticator, because you are.
Yeah.
And I want to be very clear. You'll always be Vostradamus in my heart.
I appreciate
but I
that.
want to talk to you about something more serious than politics today. I want to talk to you about the campaign that we do every year with Christian Solidarity International, where we allow our audience, my audience, to participate in literally freeing slaves. The word literally is grotesquely overused. Literally freeing slaves. There are enslaved people. We get to participate in this every Christmas. It's a beautiful thing. So I want to talk to you about it because you've been involved with CSI for years. And folks, if you want to know about it, go to my website, ericmetaxas.com. You'll see the banner, ericmetaxas.com, or there's a phone number. But Kevin, what's your experience with CSI? I always have to preface this by saying it seems unbelievable that there are people enslaved. It seems like something from the past, but it's not.
Well, sadly, Eric, it is more practiced on human on human slavery now in the 21st century than it has been at any time in human history prior to now, and that is extremely discouraging given the history of our nation, the history of Europe, where we've been, how we have learned to think about this subject matter in a very different way. But if you go back through biblical history, you know that slavery has existed in many different forms over time. What we're talking about specifically with your show, though, is the situation in the Sudan, where because of a long ongoing civil war, the Arabs in the north took primarily Christian women and young girls from the south and enslaved them during the civil war that eventually was ended by turning Sudan into two different countries. But at the end of the day, even after the peace was brought about by global powers, nobody did anything to liberate the slaves that the northern Arabs had taken from the southern Christians. And so Christian Solidarity International, our very wonderful partner, they have been a part of your show for many years. They've been a part of my show for many years. They have come forward and they have said, we will be the ones that actually do something about this and make a difference. And I will say, Eric, over the last probably 15 years, of the 185,000 slaves that we knew existed in northern Sudan, about 145,000 of them have been liberated through one-on-one individual donors saying, I'm going to give a gift to help facilitate that. And that leaves us with somewhere in the neighborhood of 30 to 40,000 slaves that are left. The other thing that happens when you bring women into slavery and you subject them to men and they rape them continually is that you also end up having sometimes children by those slaves. And for the last number of years, we have been able to liberate and free not only the moms that were wrongfully sexually assaulted and raped to create these children, but many times liberate those children to be able to go with them. In those women's lives, those kids are the only thing that they have that is really theirs. They don't own the clothes on their back. They don't own the place where they lay their head to sleep. And that child has become amazingly, even though, and we have these weird conversations in America about, well, what should we do about children of rape and incest? Well, if you go to the slave populations, those moms love those children and they want them. Many times the slave masters won't release them. But in recent years, CSI has been able to negotiate several of those releases as well. So it's an incredible thing. Real quickly, the way it works, $250 one-time gift. Once the negotiation, so there's an Arab slave runner that goes and finds the slave. They enter into negotiation with the slave master. They negotiate that release, and upon the release, the slave is allowed to return to South Sudan. They are given medical and counseling and other kinds of helps that they've been, gone without for the last number of years. And then they get to start putting their life back together. And your $250 gift is basically the toolbox that gives them everything they need to start putting that life back together piece by piece.
This is the point, is that, ladies and gentlemen, you get to participate in this. I want you to see this as a crazy opportunity, because a lot of times we complain, oh, there's this terror, there's evil in the world. Well, what if you could do something about it? Now there's something beautiful in the picture. You can change this. So every $250, now some people can't give $250, Folks, we don't care what you can give. You give whatever you want to give. But the point is, every $250 that is given adds up to being able to free a slave and set that person up in a life of freedom. That's the big deal here, is that it's all of that. CSI takes care of all of that. So the craziest, hardest part is having relationships in this part of the world where they can actually negotiate the freedom of these enslaved human beings. But then to set them up in a life of freedom, there's more to it. So they're given, this is incredible. They're taken back to their home village. We can only imagine what that is like. Can you even imagine what that's like to go home after you've been enslaved? And then they're given a number of things to set them up in a life of freedom. A she-goat, because despite what the trans world says, only she-goats can give milk. In the trans world, male goats, they can give milk and they can get pregnant too. Well, no. In the real world, like in Africa, for example, they know that that's not true. They know that you need a she-goat if you want milk. Sorry to break it to you folks, if you're part of some furry cult, sorry, but yeah, only she-goats can provide milk. And seed, farming tools. They can begin a garden to sell vegetables to set them up in their life of freedom. So that's a big deal. I want to give the phone number, folks. Now, the website, ericmetaxas.com, you'll see the link. Please go there. Please do this as a Christmas gift. Please do this for somebody. Instead of getting them a sweater or whatever they don't need, say, we freed a human being in your name, as was a way of showing you we live out our faith. We believe in doing beautiful things. And as a witness, we want to do this in your name. So the website is ericmetaxas.com. The number, 888-253-3522, 888-253-3522, 888-253-3522. You can do this in somebody's name, and you can do multiple gifts. Obviously, there are people out there that say, you know what, I want to do $1,000 because we're going to free 4 slaves. Our family is going to pool our money for Christmas, and we're going to do this. Kevin, it's been years that you and I have been talking about this. And when I think that real human beings have been freed, there's certain things that are kind of incomprehensible. It just doesn't seem real, but it is, of course, real.
Well, I will tell you that I knew of CSI long before COVID, but during the COVID kind of shutdown where my kids were at home every day, they heard me. I think I was actually on the air talking to you at one point, and they heard me talking about slavery. They were starting to get to the ages where they were starting to study some of this stuff in school. And when we were done, one of them cornered me and said, Dad, what are we doing about that? And he was not having any soft answer. I said, well, we give to CSI monthly. We were given, I don't know, $40 or $50 a month as part of our family's giving to what we were doing. And we give to a lot of different things. And he said, no. He said, we need to do more than that. And the other two started piping in with him. And before we were done, within just about an hour's worth of conversation, we had decided that what we would do is, as a family, because of the importance of this and because of our strong feelings against slavery and injustice in the world. And I'm tired of these politicians in America that talk about racial components and all kinds of things all the time. They're all full of talk, but they never provide solutions. They never provide an opportunity to do anything about it. This is genuine persecution for someone's faith. These are Christian women that have been raped. They've had their genitals mutilated. They've had a number of things happen to them that we would never stand for in the West. And yet all of our racial leaders in America just turn a blind eye to it. So we said, well, if we're going to be this family, then what we're going to do is, by God's grace, where we're able to, we're going to try to liberate one slave every month going forward. And we haven't done it perfectly. There's been a couple of months here and there where things have caught up to us and we've needed to rearrange priorities for 30 days or so. But we have, by by God's grace, for the most part, for the last 5-6 years, liberated a slave every single month. And I will tell you that my kids, they talk about a lot of different things with their friends and stuff in life. There's nothing that they talk about with more joy and satisfaction than knowing that we as a family are not just talking about changing the world, but we're actually trying to do it tangibly in someone's life every single month that we can by God's grace.
Well, that's so beautiful. It underscores two things that I wanted to bring up. First of all, get your family involved.
Yeah.
You want to teach your kids what it is to live out your faith. This is a pretty easy way to do that. We're not just talking about freeing the captives on some spiritual level. There are actually enslaved people whom we can free because we're blessed. God blesses us to be a blessing. We're going to do this. Get your kids involved. Let them see just what Kevin is talking about, that we can do something about this. Let's stop just talking about it. Let's stop lamenting this. And I want to say this is black on black slavery, folks, right? Okay, human beings who are all equally wicked do wicked things. And so it's not like slavery is invented by white people to oppress blacks. No, human beings since the beginning of time, since before they noticed their skin color, they just thought, oh, I can oppress somebody. I can make money. I can help myself by hurting somebody else. It's been going on since the beginning of time, and it's going on right now in Africa. Black Muslims oppressing Black Christians. If that doesn't move you, you can't be listening. This is important. So I want to say that this is a way to be a witness to your kids. It's a way to witness to your family or to friends that we actually live out our faith. We actually believe this, and we give our money to do this wonderful thing. But the other piece that you mentioned, Kevin, is you can do it monthly. In other words, if you say, well, I don't want to give a lump sum, I can't give a lump sum, of $500, but maybe I could do that over a year. Maybe I can give $50 a month. What a beautiful idea. $100 a month, $20 a month. Can you do that? It's just a beautiful idea. It's a great opportunity. Again, the website's ericmetaxas.com. Folks, you got to spell my name right. Otherwise, I can't help you. I can't help you. ericmetaxas.com. It's Metaxas. It's not Texas. ericmetaxas.com. But the phone number, if you want to call, is 888-253-3522, 888-253-3522. This is a great opportunity. You're thinking, oh, I got to do Christmas shopping. This is a way to really shock somebody in a positive way. You want to know what I got you? In your name, I freed a human being enslaved by Muslim radicals. Freed in your name. We did that. There's something to talk about. 888-253-3522, or the website is ericmetaxas.com. Folks, don't miss this opportunity. This is too great. Kevin McCullough, my friend, thank you so much.
Thank you, Eric.
This Christmas, as we celebrate the Super Centennial coming up, Super Centennial 250th, there's no way, better way to support it than by supporting my friend, an American hero, Mike Lindell. He's one of the main sponsors on this program. He's the man behind My Pillow. He put his money where his mouth is. Some of you know this if you've watched the program. He stood up for the country. He was unfairly canceled by the big box stores. So I want us to stand with him. So please go to mypillow.com. Use the promo code ERIC to save big on pillows, sheets, slippers, everything you need for Christmas comfort. You'll sleep great, save big, celebrate freedom with My Pillow. Mypillow.com. Use the code ERIC.